Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another movie review. Today, I came from seeing Fighting with My Family, the WWE biopic about Paige. I'm going to give some quick thoughts on the film, my overall opinion, and then I'm going to move into a discussion of the film with some potential spoilers. If you haven't seen the film, um, stop watching when I get to that point. I'm going to keep the first part of this video spoiler free for the most part. Just again, this is just going to be my very basic opinion on the film. So, overall, I really enjoyed the film. I haven't seen the documentary that it's based on. I believe it is still available to watch. So, I'm going to probably go and watch that. The film is a family kind of comedy slash drama about, this is all from the trailers, about Paige trying out for the WWE and eventually getting signed to the WWE. This is, again, all in the trailers. And then there is the family drama between the various members of her family. That is the basic setup for the film. Overall, I really enjoyed it. Being a wrestling fan, I think helped me enjoy it potentially more. Maybe less in some spots because there is some stuff that is kind of like um, not exactly maybe like how it actually happened, but to make the movie a movie and not have it be incredibly long, there's some stuff that is condensed. So that being said, I'm going to give it a good review. I say if you like wrestling, go see it. Even if you don't like wrestling, it's still a fun, entertaining movie. It's about an hour and 47 minutes long, so it doesn't feel too short. Doesn't feel incredibly long. So I think it's a good amount of time for the movie. But that being said, I'm going to jump into some of my opinions on some of the other points in the film, which may include spoilers. So again, stop watching now if you haven't seen the movie. So just some stuff, just a few things that jumped out at me when I was watching this film. Let's see. So I believe early in the film, Paige and her brother are watching a match during The Rock and Triple H. I don't know exactly what match it was, but I believe it's probably from the maybe the late '90s, maybe early 2000s, because I know they feuded during that time period. And I believe her and her brother have these cardboard titles that they've made. I believe Paige's title is the Divas title, even though at that time it would still be the WWF Women's Championship and the WWF just World Championship. Again, that's a minor kind of gripe with the film is that the titles were not accurate to the time period because I think at that time it was again the women's title and the world title, and the Divas title I don't think came around until about 2008 or so, and it's of course been tired since 2016. But on to the next point. So they get contacted by Vince Vaughn, who I don't believe is based on any one particular person. I think he's kind of like a combination of several people, several trainers at WWE, just playing the coach instead of having 5 or 6 people each doing different things. I think it was probably easier to write that all into one character. So he contacts them, says there's going to be a tryout at I think it's the O2 in London. Both Paige and her brother go. Only Paige is chosen. I believe one of the people in tryout is supposed to be, or it looks very much like. I think it's also in there as Pete Dunne. Kind of the clothing and hairstyle look very much like him. So I think that's kind of like an Easter egg. If you know who that is, recognize him as somebody playing Pete Dunne. And at that point, Paige gets into NXT. They do basically these tryouts, I think, like after SmackDown. However, the SmackDown set is a SmackDown Live set, and I believe SmackDown Live has only been around for a couple now, maybe a few years. But I think after they went back and split the rosters again, it was just SmackDown and Raw, and SmackDown Live. SmackDown was taped prior to that. SmackDown Live being a show created within the few years, or at least the live part being added to the name. So that was something that was just a little just an inconsistency. Very nitpicky for me after that. I'm not really going out. So something that I noticed. Um, NXT felt the training and like that kind of thing. It felt very abbreviated. So I don't think they could have gone into her entire NXT career. However, the way it was filmed, it looked like her career in NXT never happened. So it's basically training, training, training. They get a Christmas break. Some interesting family drama stuff happens during that Christmas break that like Paige initially wants to quit, and then her family basically asks her to continue with the training and all that. She goes back, she trains, and then gets a call that they're going to her and a few of the other NXT women wrestlers are going to be basically going to WrestleMania, not to wrestle, but just to be at WrestleMania. I'm not sure if the women in NXT that were basically her rivals were supposed to be based on any certain wrestlers. The only one that looked like that had ring gear that looked familiar to me, I forget the character's name, or she was wearing ring gear that looked like Alexa Bliss's old blue NXT ring gear before she went with the red ring gear and before being drafted into the main roster or brought into the main roster. So I think one of them was supposed to be playing a version of Alexa Bliss. However, I think a lot of the other wrestlers were kind of like just personalities of multiple wrestlers put into one. So there's like three other women wrestlers she is kind of like fighting against throughout the movie. Some of it is like they think that these women are there. That some of them are models, some of them are like dancers and whatnot that are being brought into WWE. And Paige, um, they kind of take a disliking to her because she kind of calls them out on that. Even though, and there's a scene where Paige thinks they are talking about her behind her back, where one of them is actually talking about their daughter, and that they're there to like help um, basically give their daughter better opportunities, basically providing for their kind of thing. So there's some misunderstanding between them, that kind of thing. There is they really only show you one NXT match, and I don't think they were able to film at again this being around the time of when it was before it was NXT, it was Florida Championship Wrestling. I don't know at what point they got to use the Full Sail University, but everything from NXT was filmed at some other location. So I know it was Florida Championship Wrestling, and then it became NXT. And then again, I wasn't watching when it was Florida Championship Wrestling, so I couldn't say like what arena in. However, it looked like kind of just like your generic arena. So after that, she basically gets the call up to the main roster. This happens during WrestleMania 30. So basically, Vince Vaughn says, "Hey, we gotta go. We gotta like come with me." And they go into an. She goes into a suite. I think it was like the in in Louisiana in the Superdome, and this is where The Rock breaks it to her that she is going onto the main roster. So they basically call the family, say, "Hey, you're going onto the main roster. You're debuting tomorrow night against AJ Lee." So AJ Lee was actually played by Zelina Vega. I thought she did a pretty good job. Did a very good impersonation of AJ Lee. So if you just like listen to her dialogue, it's lifted from that episode of Raw. However, it's her voice that Zelina Vega does for AJ Lee sounds pretty much exactly like AJ Lee. So Paige goes in, debuts, wins her Divas Championship, and that's basically where it ends. Um, however, it was never shown that she was the NXT champion or anything like that. I kind of wish they would have done like a time jump at one point where maybe she does her training and it goes says I think Paige was in NXT from 2011 to 2014. So maybe 2011. In the time frame for this is probably correct because they say when she goes through her training, she's 18. Paige is born in 1992, so that puts her time in NXT around 2010, 2000. That's pretty much at least what her Wikipedia says. So 2011 through 2014 NXT. However, again back to that, I would have liked a time jump, saying like show her maybe win her NXT championship, and then get the call up, and then do her match with AJ, and end the film. But other than that, so that was kind of there was just a few things that were done differently for the sake of it being a movie, and done for the sake of just moving the story along. So I didn't mind that stuff all that much. So again, going in as a wrestling fan, I enjoyed it. However, there were a few things that kind of stuck out just because I knew SmackDown Live wasn't around in 2010. I knew the Divas Championship wasn't around when The Rock was fighting Triple H. It was championship. Just things like that. But other than those few things, It was a really fun movie, really entertaining. I'm definitely gonna see it again. So I've been looking forward to the movie for a while, and I'll probably try to go back again and maybe watch it less critically or less as a wrestling fan, and then probably I might enjoy it more. But even then, I enjoyed it quite a bit. If you're a wrestling fan, I would recommend seeing it again. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, it's still an entertaining film. And the dynamic between her and her family, especially her brother, is pretty well done. And then again, I believe the documentary that this is based on is still available to watch. So I'm going to go ahead and watch. But that's going to do it for this